going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio, transmitting from the future-free state of Greater Idaho. I am the one-armed madman, and with me today we've got a first-timer. It's Mr. Charley Johnson. Charley, how we doing, man?
Good.
You said something here in our pre-record that really caught my ear, and I went, "Ooh, let's kind of explore that a little bit." You said time is speeding up.
Yeah, so we have a construct of time, right? We take that for granted because that's all we've known. If you look at if you watch a lot of the movies, a lot of the sci-fi movies, when they're talking about other civilizations and like that Amy Adams movie with the rivals,
Yeah.
and she asks where are you from, and they say some star a million light years away, and she said, "Well, are you guys artificial intelligence?" And they said no, but as soon as you get rid of the construct of time and space, you can be anywhere you want. So it's all consciousness, it's all connected. We limit ourselves with the way our mind works, with time works. And now, as that construct dissolves, like you said, you can't believe it's been 8 weeks. Now, as our parents and our grandparents have always told us, like, when you get older, time's going to speed up. I understand that. That's not this. Literally, the construct of how we know this world, how you and I know each other, how we interact with time is just dissolving. It's just spreading. It's just speeding up like a son of a bitch.
Wow, that's interesting. That kind of gets into like black hole cosmology almost, where you've got your black hole, you've got your singularity that looks a whole awful lot like what a Big Bang might look like. And
Yeah.
if you were existing within a black hole, things would get very weird.
Yeah.
If it
Exactly.
once
Yeah.
you
You wouldn't
enter
even know it.
once you enter that singularity, the point of no return, time and space flip on each other, where I can't really explain that aspect of it, but I do know that that is part of the whole deal. And it's an interesting theory, right? Where if you were just whipping around, whirling around, and eh, it would be strange. It would be a strange way to live.
We don't have the ability to understand that. Even like you said, you don't know how to explain it. I don't. Even the people like those incredibly intelligent astrophysicists, Hawking's, all those guys. You see a lot of the things they discussed when they were around. Now they're, in a sense, some of them are coming true. Some of them are just completely debunked. We have been given such a limited scope with this mind. This mind is so limited and so full and so overwhelmed. We're just all taking shots in the dark,
Yeah.
just guessing.
I saw a really funny video on X the other day where a guy was getting abducted by an alien, but it was kind of like a doctor visit. And he would hold something up. He's like, all right, this dimension. Nope, don't see it. All right, how about this one?
Exactly.
Oh, you don't see that either? That sucks. Sorry, man. That must really suck to be you.
Truly, man.
Yeah, I read a
heard
lot of sci-fi, and I read a book recently. I don't remember which one it was, but they were building these machines that were massive weapons, time, space, the whole deal,
Yeah.
and they existed in multiple dimensions, multiple realities. So you could see some of this thing, and then some of it was just not there. But you know that
Yeah.
it's actually there, you just can't see it. So like there's all kinds of, and I believe it was Columbus Day. I don't remember the Expeditionary Force. It's great series of books. And man, you got AIs existing in different dimensions, and you got to wonder like what you could build if you could build in a spot that didn't have the same laws of physics that we have, that maybe you
Well,
didn't have to deal with gravity or you don't have to deal with entropy. Like building would be so much different.
we only know what we know. It's kind of like when we look for other planets. It needs water and oxygen. Yeah, for us. What if there's other entities, other civilizations out there that don't need oxygen? They don't need water. They need maybe they need plutonium. Maybe the most nuclear thing to us that would just absolutely kill us in a split second. Maybe that keeps them alive. Our mind just does not have the capacity. And all these sci-fi movies, all these things, they're all real. All these sci-fi movies are coming real. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it all starts out as a thought. It all starts in consciousness. It all starts here, and it just comes out and it just becomes reality. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
I'm a big sci-fi guy. Like I don't really watch TV much anymore. I limit myself to like sci-fi only at this point because that's just my thing. And one of the things that really bothers me about modern sci-fi is that they depict Earth as like this shithole. There's a great what was that one called? Man, I'm gonna draw a blank on the name. I'm not even gonna try. But they head over and they're using AIs to raise children on this distant planet, and the place is just this unbelievable paradise, and all the shots they show of Earth are just disgusting and terrible. And Like, I'm more of, like, on the Battlestar Galactica front of this, where, like, in Battlestar Galactica, when they show up at Earth at the end, they're like, "Holy crap." Like, this planet has more life on it, more vibrancy, more, variability than all of our planets put together. And I feel like that we kinda get sucked into looking for paradise elsewhere and not
Mhm.
really, like, realizing that we live in the paradise planet. Like, we've looked at so many planets at this point, and we're not really seeing very much. A lot of rocks, a lot of nothing, but you look around here, and the place is just unbelievable. Like, I saw these climate protesters painting on the Merrill Lynch Bowl the other day, and they were screaming, "No profit on a dead planet." And it's like, dead planet? Like, I understand your commie mind doesn't, like, understand profit, and, like, I'm not even gonna get into that aspect of it, but, like, a dead planet, like, just take a look around. Like, this place is just teeming with life. You can't stop life on this planet. I've got a hot tub that I battle with algae in every single day. I have to drop chemicals into the damn thing to keep life from expanding, and like, we don't live on a dead planet. Like, this, we could go for millions and millions of light years and never find a place as good as this. Or we could
No,
find places much better. It's hard to really say. But I hate that aspect of just like people hating on Earth because people are poisonous or people are a disease and they're destroying everything. Like, I see a beautiful planet just teeming with life, exploding with life.
one of the there was a great teacher I used to follow. He said, I feel very at peace that when the planet's ready, it'll just kick us off, and about a million years later, we'll just evolve back again. Like this planet, I know we have something to do with what's going on right now, but this planet, there's no way our feeble minds, even with nuclear power, nuclear bombs, nuclear war, would give two shits what we did to it.
Yeah.
It's alive, it's its own little entity, it's got its own little consciousness, it's just allowing us to be. There's so many other planets just like this, but yeah, it's that gets down to the always the argument between the Catholic and the atheist and the Republican and the Democrat and the green people and the non-green people. All of that does not matter. The heads and tails of the coin. My question's always been, where did the coin come from?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all of that shit is just causing so much division, so much conflict. And every single side since the beginning of humanity thinks at some point in the future they're going to come out ahead. They're not.
Yeah,
No
man.
side's coming out ahead. When you pick a side, you are creating the same shit you want to rid the world of. It's just not.
Yeah, this planet could shed us like fleas if it
It
wanted
doesn't
to.
care.
It does not care. Like,
No,
I don't think you could. I don't know that it's even possible to get rid of life on this planet, like
I don't think
fully.
so.
It's so
I don't think
deep
so.
down into that deep biosphere. You would have to like turn everything into plasma and just melt it all. And
You'd have to
still
truly blow this planet up.
yeah, and still panspermia is probably gonna fucking happen. Like,
Yeah,
there's gonna be a tardigrade that escapes your death beam at some point, you know what I
truly.
mean? Like, there's stuff floating around in our atmosphere right now that is escaping to other
Yep,
places. It's,
truly.
uh it's a really interesting theory. What do you think about, like, origins of life? Are you a panspermia guy? Are you
Explain to
a
me what panspermia is to you.
Panspermia is like one where you've got a rock from a planet. Our Earth gets hit with an asteroid.
Okay.
Tardigrades escape up into the atmosphere, go through
Okay.
space. Or are you a bio? Like, I don't know how life started on this planet. I don't even have a clue. I don't know if it came from somewhere else by accident. I don't know if it came from somewhere else on purpose. I don't know if God ordained it or if you just got a soup. Like, the soup thing seems like the weirdest thing to me, where you can just have a soup of stuff and then all of a sudden life, exists. But my hot tub, so.
I think with our minds, we've been given a tool that it's either or. So if it's not panspermia, it's something else. If it's this, it's that. It's either Republican or
Yeah, yeah,
it's all of the above. I think life on this planet came about in many different ways. But because of the time with my teacher, because of seeing people levitate, seeing certain things do defy the laws of physics, and then really tapping in, and this may be the first time your listeners are hearing this, but have you ever heard of channels? People who channel other entities?
yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
good. So there are some really good. There's some 99% of them are full of shit. But the 1%, if you have the ability to disseminate who that is, when they're channeling other entities. And there was one that talked about just in our galaxy. And there's what, billions, trillions of other galaxies, right? It's 100,000 light years away, 100,000 light years across. Just in our galaxy, they said there's 400,000 plus civilizations.
Wow.
So we sit here because of the scope of mind we've been given, so tiny. We're wondering, is there other life? We're guessing. I think it's incredible amounts of ignorance when 60 Minutes does an interview with some intelligent scientists and they're still flipping a coin on if we're alone or not.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you.
My
And
God.
we just had a
Oh,
major like mainstream science announcement where they found a planet 150 light years from here. It's a big Earth around a red star, and it looks like the place has got algae.
yeah. Algae. Fuck algae.
Yeah, like screw
People,
algae, but like
people.
that's
Like,
mainstream science, right? Like
yes. Yeah.
so you know there's something going on when the
Oh,
mainstream science is actually getting into it. Like I I have a hard time with the civilization with the mass amount of civilization things for a couple of reasons, but I think it's also
how
because
so?
I'm
How so?
so why don't we see big swaths of the galaxy blacked out where they're surrounding their stars in Dyson spheres or Dyson swarms and generating
We
energy?
created that. We created that
That's
construct of the Dyson
that's where
sphere.
I
We
was
created what we think the other planet or what other civilizations would do. We
exactly.
think we need food and water and oxygen and everything. That's our construct.
Yes. I was gonna say
It's
that
an infinite universe, and these other planets are we're just ants.
yes, I think we putting ourselves in a box to where,
Yeah.
like you said, we're projecting what would we do
What
if
would
we
we
were in this
exactly?
situation.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think we are kept in that box for a lot of reasons. Faster than light travel being one of them.
Hmm.
I do not think that they want faster than light travel to get out on because
But
like what
again,
if me and you just had the ability to leave and go, we don't like this Democrat Republican thing. We don't like this black and white thing. We're gonna go. They don't like
we
that.
can't. That's another construct. Built we built that number, that 186,000 kilometers per second.
Yeah.
And then so we have that as the Republican. On the Democratic side, we can go high, we can go faster than the speed of light. My teacher always said, what's faster than the speed of light? Speed of thought. Consciousness. How do they remote view? Consciousness. There's no time limit. We're always breaking down time to smaller and smaller paraseconds, nanoseconds. We're just like getting, no, it's like a Russian. It is connected. You've seen the double slit experiment. You've seen them take a piece of DNA, move it 1,000 miles away. Whatever they do to this, specifically, it happens to this. There's no time lapse, nothing. So when we say the speed of light, that's our construct. When we say faster than the speed of light, like that's going to open us up to this vast world of warp drive and everything, that's our construct.
Yeah.
All of these other civilizations that are thousands, millions of years ahead of us, instantaneous. You think of something, you're there. We can't wrap our minds around that. Now, all of these constructs that we discuss at a scientific physics level, how we're seeing quantum entanglement, and then you said 10 minutes ago when they talked about different universes, even even scientists who don't believe in a thing you and I are talking about, where do they say they're getting their information with the quantum computing? They truly believe they're tapping into another universe. That's why they have the ability to do something that would take a normal computer a million years, 5 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's all coming around.
I love that David Deutsch theory of the reason these computers are able to make those processes the way they are is because they're connected to every version of itself. And an
Yeah.
interesting thing is like once you plug that computer in, every time it makes a decision or you
Uh
ask
huh.
it a question,
Yep.
anything that there's a possibility for it to go one way or the other, a new universe will be born.
Truly. Isn't that
Because
crazy?
it just has to split off.
Yeah.
It
It
made a
has to.
decision, so obviously the other
Mm.
decision can exist as well. So you've got
Yep.
a branch where
Yeah.
each of them goes and sees what happens based
Yeah.
on that decision. It's a
Yeah.
very interesting concept. I've always kind of felt like consciousness doesn't abide by the laws of physics. I think
No.
dreams are super weird. I think like, DMT and mushrooms are super weird. Talk about time dilation. Go eat an
Yep.
eighth of mushrooms. A minute turns into an hour and 8 hours turns into 10 seconds. It's the weirdest thing you can ever
Mm.
imagine. And like
Yep.
I could totally see consciousness existing as like a bulk thing somewhere else that we kind of are able to get in and out of from time
Yeah.
to time. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. I agree. What God, you when you said something, you had me thinking of something. You saw that, have you seen that you said you only do sci-fi. So have you seen that Apple series TV called Dark Matter with
Yes. It's a
I
great
mean,
show.
all of that stuff. Again, they say it's sci-fi. Everything starts as a thought. I think Star Trek was real. I think Star Wars is real. But that dark matter thing, that makes perfect sense. All of the things they're coming out with, those whistleblowers that are taught, it's no longer secondhand. These are direct individuals who picked up bodies and picked up spaceships, talking about anti-gravity and all of this stuff, and it's just slowly leaking out. All of that shit. There's If you understand the universe, you understand what consciousness is, and you just start to piece together, like remote viewing, what you're talking about, what other people have experienced directly, theories, everything.
So
It's all real.
So you were talking. I wrote this down because it was an interesting just tidbit that you threw in when we were talking about something else. But you said you've witnessed people levitate. So where does that come from? Is that the mind being more powerful than physics? Is that hacking physics in a way, or are they
It's
tapping into something that? Uh,
your body's energy. Everything's energy, right?
uh,
Even the most ignorant people that don't believe in a single thing you and I are saying and think you and I are crazy, even they joke, "Oh, it's all energy.
yes.
It's all energy." You just change your energy.
Yeah.
You just
No.
change your frequency. You just change your vibration. I mean, look at anti-gravity. Look at how look at all of this stuff that we take for granted. There's just individuals. They call them, Patanjali's talks about the cities in the Yoga Sutras, and there's individuals that like LeBron James is just amazing in basketball because he spent his entire life on basketball. If you sat down and were a yogi and went to the Himalayas and meditated and had a really good teacher, and all you fucking did was try to figure out how to levitate, how to do certain things where your skin becomes like a rhino, how
Mhm.
to heal your entire body, even if you break your leg overnight, all that stuff's real. And there are stories of it time and time again. We always blow it off as bullshit. We always blow it off as someone making shit up. But we are not creative beings. We are not. Everyone's, well, what about fantasy? What about these books? What about this bullshit? What about people lying? That's fine. But where did those lies come from? Where did that fantasy come from? Where did their ideas come? It comes from the original thought, and people have experienced that. They absolutely can. Think about all the stuff they talk about with med beds. It's all frequency.
Yeah.
It's all frequency stuff.
Yeah.
All the
So
people that have been near death experiencers, or they've been abducted, not abducted by aliens in a negative way, but literally know these individuals or have had off planet visitations, and they do it all the time. They have med beds, and it's all frequency. And people listening to this, I'm sure your audience is pretty open to this, but none of that is wrong. None of that is crazy. None of that, it makes perfect sense. There's nothing you can talk to me about that would make me say that's bullshit or that's crazy or that doesn't make sense. Consciousness is everything. We are the ones that put the limits on it, and the limits we put on it are so fucking tiny, so tiny.
so I was a lineman before I got hurt. I worked on power lines, worked with electricity, and I think linemen are a great gauge of electricity in a lot of ways because it's not our job to understand it. It's our job to utilize it and make it work.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
the first thing they taught us in basic electrical theory is something my dad was saying my entire life is that electricity is FM. And that means electricity is fucking magic. And that was the most true statement I had ever heard at the time because the way electricity works is magical. Like it's something else completely. When you start really working it and seeing it do the things, we had a guy make a mistake one day on a line. He contacted a bucket truck to the line, and I saw the line have this little blue flame that was dancing across the line, and it danced all the way down as far as I could see. And I was an apprentice at the time, and the lineman comes up. What the fuck happened? I'm like, oh, I tell him this, this flame was just dancing across the lines. He goes, that's not possible. Well, it just fucking
I
happened.
saw it. Yeah,
So, like, I'm pretty sure it's possible, right? And he couldn't
yeah,
explain it. I couldn't explain it. The stuff is magic. It acts like it's alive a lot of the time. It does things with purpose. Ball lightning is something that people can't really explain. That stuff seems to act with purpose.
yeah,
Plasma seems to act with purpose. It's
yeah.
a very strange thing.
Yeah. And again, we use that word. And every time we say crazy or strange or different or doesn't make sense, we put it into a box. The most magical thing on this planet is the fact that you and I are talking on this podcast when there was just a single cell inside a woman's body. And it spit out a body,
Yeah.
consciousness, organs, teeth, eyes, senses, everything. It came from nothing. And just because 8 billion people came that same way science and biology believes they can describe it. We're only describing what we know. We're only describing direct experience. We don't know where the fuck anything comes from. We don't know where electricity comes from. Even
No,
Tesla, everything he was doing that they hid away that's finally coming out, he was just, you said it perfect. We don't understand electricity. We just know how to use it.
exactly.
We will never understand consciousness or God or anything at that level because of our minds, but we know how to utilize it. We know how to tap into it. We know how to put it to use. We know how to advance ourselves, but we will never know any of this stuff at the level of creation or absolute.
Nope.
Absolutely not. We just can't.
We will never figure out the electron. You
No.
know, when you're in school, they teach you, you know, you've got the atom and then you've got your electron that's rotating around like a
Yeah.
planet, and it's so wrong. That's a cloud. It's an electron cloud. That electron could be anywhere and everywhere all at once, and it could even
Yep.
spit off and go to another fucking atom altogether, right?
Yep.
And this is just literally us trying to explain our ignorance. We don't even really know if that's the case because
No.
you're never going to be able to look at an electron and see what it does.
Nope.
And it's just
Nope.
like trying to fucking make sense of our ignorance, which is
Well,
a fun place to be in when you're able to like humble yourself and go, there are things larger than me in this universe that I can't explain. No one will ever be able to explain. It's just the way that it is.
yep.
And you can be comfortable with being ignorant to all of these things. It kind of frees you in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
People who are built into these boxes in colleges and you know, like your college professors who are studying this type of stuff, they don't have a way to get out of the box that they've put themselves in to even
No.
entertain some of the things that we're talking about that have actual scientific basis to them.
180 IQ. The most intelligent people on this planet are probably in the smallest boxes of any of us.
Yeah.
And they're gonna go to their deathbed trying to figure out something they will never figure out. Ever. Ever.
Yeah, man. I
Oh,
saw an
I mean,
interesting I saw an
oh,
interesting exchange with Richard Dawkins recently,
yeah,
where somebody asked him a very important question. What if you're wrong? And he didn't answer the question. He just made fun of that person for 20 minutes and talked about spaghetti monsters and shit like that. And it's
it's too
like,
bad.
you are in such a major box that,
It's too
like,
bad.
the answer to that question should be if I'm wrong, I will be kissing God's feet
Yeah,
because I'm
who
happy as
cares?
hell that I'm wrong and I am still here.
Yep.
That's the answer. But no,
Yep.
you have to make fun of us with spaghetti monsters and the cookie
Yep.
monster and all these
Yep.
ridiculous sophomoric, you know, arguments that you were taught in university that you've just never been able to escape.
No, and that is, if if we were wiser, smarter, like Richard Dawkins and those guys, we would pick a side and we'd dig our heels in and we'd make a shit ton of money and we'd get half the world to be on our side and we'd argue. But some of us just can't do that.
No, I
It's
don't.
truly the Catholic and the atheist. I am blown away that such intelligent people can be at such odds with each other at such a fucking argument that they both don't understand they're coming from the same side.
Yeah.
Floors me.
You know, I got electrocuted working on power lines is 14,400 volts. They called it
Oof.
a catastrophic unsurvivable injury. I remember climbing the pole, looking over at my buddy to see how far along he was because everything was a race back then. As a lineman, you're always racing to be the best guy, fastest guy. And then I remember looking up at the sky, thinking I fell. Like, what the fuck? And I reach for the ground, and the ground's not there. I'm on the pole still. And then
Oh,
the pain comes in. And I was out for, I don't know, 2 to 3 minutes, maybe. If you told me I was gone for a million years, I'd say that maybe. Like
yeah,
I
maybe.
went somewhere. I don't remember anything from that time where I was gone. But it could have been 2 minutes or 2 billion years for all I know. It wasn't like getting knocked out on a dirt bike. I've been knocked
No.
out on dirt bikes before.
But you had a
You kind
near-death
of come
experience
back
just to
up.
remember it. Yeah.
I don't remember it. And I feel like it's not that I don't remember it. I feel like that somebody deleted it from my brain and took it from me.
For
Whatever
your
that
own good.
experience was, it wasn't meant for me to know at this point, at least. And I feel
Yep.
like a computer that's had files deleted. that you know those files were there, the data was there, but where it went is beyond me. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
It makes perfect sense. I mean, you have every every scientific group, every religion, every type of any organization, any group, they say that 3 to 5% of this planet has had a near death experience. Do you that's hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah,
So more and more talking about it. For some reason, you didn't remember yours. I think what you referenced saying it wasn't time for me to remember it. Maybe it would have been too overwhelming for you.
maybe.
I think that's 100% right. But hundreds of millions of people. There's thousands of books, tens of thousands of books written about it. There's tens of thousands of YouTube videos. They all say the same thing. They all go to the same place. 99% of them are about love and light, and they go to a place where everything actually feels more at home. People who have out of body experiences say that when they leave this physical body, it's actually more physical on the other side, which makes no sense.
Wow.
But when they come back, the ones who do remember it talk about it, and it just makes perfect sense. And it makes sense because what they were doing up there, or whatever up there is, it seems like we had everything we wanted. We got bored, and we wanted to come down here to understand our limits.
Yeah, and
And
I
when it comes
feel
to so many of them, like yours, like you said, maybe in this life it wasn't for you to remember.
and maybe I wouldn't have wanted to come back if I
Oh,
did
I guarantee.
remember, because if
I
it's
agree.
more physical, if it's more real than real, if it's the true baseline reality or the universal consciousness, I wouldn't want to remember that. It would make me miserable to be here and
I think
not
that's why a
be
lot
able
of
to
us have.
experience that thing.
I completely agree. I think that's why a lot of us have struggles on this planet. Something deep down in us says we're not home.
Yeah.
This isn't it,
You know,
and I
I've
don't know why I chose
gosh,
it.
that rings home too. So, I've had a few major moments of conflict in my life. I've been to jail a couple of times. I was really into drugs early on. You know, I've had some, a couple overdoses on fentanyl and shit like that. The hand, like major injuries. Like I've had some conflict in my life. And when things get really bad, I get this feeling where it's like I just want to go home. I don't want to be here right now. Like I just want to go home. But I'm in my house when I'm doing that.
Yep,
So where is home? Where is this
exactly.
place that I'm trying to go to? Why am I in the worst times of my life? Why do I want to go somewhere that I've never been to before? It doesn't
Because
make a
you
lot of
have.
sense,
Because you have.
right?
That's the amnesia. That's the veil. You have. That's where you came from, wherever that is. And if you look into like the Akashic records, or you do a reading with someone who understands that, they'll tell you exactly where you're from. You look at Dolores Cannon and some of those people who have done the past life regressions. She said there's a significant amount of people on this planet that are incredibly homesick. We did sign up for this. We did sign up for what we go through. It makes perfect sense. I personally want to talk to my soul and ask him what he was thinking.
Me too.
Um, truly,
I put
truly,
myself through it this time around, you know?
truly. Like, I mean, but that makes perfect sense. I think for those who are open to certain things and they're open, their minds open to it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are homesick. And there's many times in my darkest days where I don't want to wake up in the morning, and I say, please, like, take me to another planet. Take me to somewhere less dense. Take me to where this constant stuff going on up here is no longer there, because I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Yeah. You know,
But
another weird thing too is like I have memories of places I've never been to before.
I guarantee, yeah,
I
that's
don't know if
exactly, that's
you've had
past
this
lives.
before too, but like I have vivid memories of living in an old dilapidated mansion where only a couple of the rooms were in service and everything else was kind of locked off and maybe blocked off by doors and furniture that's been stacked up. And I remember going through this house looking for shit to steal when I was a drug addict.
Mhm.
I've never lived in a house like that before. Never.
Yeah,
Is this,
yeah.
one of those things where, I made a decision at some point and things branched off and I went a different way here and a different way there and maybe while I'm dreaming I can kind of connect with that other reality. I can't really explain it, but it's not a dream. I've been there before.
Yeah, see, you can tell the difference, right? That's when you start to understand the difference between a dream and a memory. And I think one of the best ways to describe that, um, I can't remember his name, Damien Wright. He teaches people how to get out of their body. He does it all the time, and he says our what we talked about at the beginning of this conversation, the time and space. He says that when we talk about past lives, when you talk about a memory, we have a deck of cards, and we go ace, two, three, four, five, six. We're linear, right? He says the way the rest of the universe and other civilizations understand time, because they don't have the construct and the physicality, is it's a stack of 52 cards. And if you look down through the cards, all 52 of them have something going on.
Hmm.
It's happening now. When Dolores Cannon used to talk to Da Vinci or people in past life regressions, she would talk to them and they would say, "You do realize I'm still alive. In your world, I'm in the 1500s and you think I'm dead. But if you're talking to me, how can I be dead?" That comes right back to how we started this. The construct of how we are human, and time and space and the speed of light and everything that you and I talk about is just plain fucking ignorance. But yet we've got science and physics, and we're trying to describe a universe for the only fact to make ourselves feel more safe and secure. And as soon as we have a near death experience, or you talk about a memory that makes no sense, like those doors open and you just realize how small you are, you realize the limits, you get homesick and you're like, hey, you know what? I want to go find somewhere where there's not so many so many limits.
Yeah. What got you to start thinking this way? As a kid, I was super into aliens and other planets, and I watched a lot of shit on the Discovery and the Science Channel, and kind of didn't really delve into like the consciousness aspect of things until after I was hurt. I don't know why, I just, didn't. But what was it that opened your mind up to being able to think this way?
Born and raised in Utah, I wasn't religious. I wasn't Mormon. I had no construct of religion or spirituality. None.
Me neither, as a kid.
Zero. Like not even a for it or against it. It wasn't in my awareness. Um, and then I did what I learned. I did what people thought I should do. I went into business. I did this. I did the nonprofit. I tried to save the world. And then when I started listening to different individuals like my teacher, and he started doing things that made no sense to me, defied the laws of physics, I started reading books. He wasn't teaching me anything. He was showing me what I needed to remember.
Man.
And if you have a really, really high level teacher, that's all they're doing. They're breaking down the wall of the veil, they're breaking down your limits so that you can tap back into where you came from, in a sense, and say, oh, because here's a very strong sentence that I'll never forget, and it makes perfect sense. Knowledge is structured in consciousness. Think about every book you've read, every thought you've had, every lecture you've watched, every podcast you've watched, everything you've learned from your parents, your teachers, your friends, your family, anybody. It came from the same fucking source. And it's being funneled through this tiny little divided, overwhelmed mind that creates all the problems and thinks the world's terrible and everything else. Knowledge is structured in consciousness. He said so many things to me over that decade, but there are certain things that stuck. And it helped me get past the conflict and the division. It helped me understand the universe. It helped me understand the construct of time. It helped me understand how limited the mind is. It helped me really understand consciousness. And if it's all consciousness, which it's fundamental to our reality. The brain doesn't create consciousness. That's just ignorance. Knowledge is structured in consciousness. We are consciousness. Your planet is consciousness. Other civilization, everything is in consciousness. Think about everything as knowledge. Everything you and I are discussing is a piece of knowledge. It may be known or unknown by humans so far. Everything known and unknown came from the same source. To me, that is very simple, very understanding, and very logical. Everything came from the same source. The absolute created the relative. Knowledge is structured in consciousness. This is a man who can do the things I told you he could do. He spent decades with another very high level teacher that traveled the world. And all he was doing, again, we all have these teachers who we cram our heads full of it. He was stripping it all away. So he took my human side away from me. I kept my body, but knowledge is structured in consciousness. So anything that you brought to me, anything I ever had a discussion on, anything that anyone had a theory on, I didn't have bias against it. I didn't have a dog in a fight. I didn't tell them they were crazy. I didn't say, I was like, makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So the last time I did hallucinogens was probably a year after I got hurt. I don't do them anymore.
Okay.
And I wanted answers. You know, why did this happen to me? Was it because of the bad things I did? Am I being punished? Am I learning? Like, why am I in the place that I'm in? I wanted
Mhm.
answers, you know?
Yeah.
And the message was the exact message that you described your teacher. I don't have anything else to teach you. You've been here before. You know what to
Hmm.
do. You know it all already. Just
Yep.
apply what you know.
Yep.
And that was the message. It was like, "Hey man, you've been here. You know what to do." Like
Mhm.
like you said, you know it all already. Just remember how to do it, you
Yep.
know? And
Yep.
it was a letdown at first. It's like,
It's always
"Man,
a letdown, right?
yeah, it was a letdown at first." But then it turned into an opportunity
Yeah.
more than a letdown. It's like, "Okay, well, what do I know? What what am I forgetting? Why am I forgetting it? Why am I unable to get these answers? Why do I want the answers so bad?
Hmm.
Why can't I just be content with this is what you're learning right now and it's going to be important someday?"
Yeah.
And it was kind of an empowering thing to realize that I don't need the answers. Like I'll get the answers someday. You know, they're out there and right now I just need to continue being a good person, learning what I can about what I am interested in or you know, trying to make a difference in the places that I can, maybe with my family or my friends or people that meet on podcasts. Like
Yep. Yep.
this is good enough. Like you don't need all the answers. You don't need a book that you can just turn to. Like finding the answers yourself is the true journey.
That's it. If you have a decent teacher, they're going to bring you back to yourself. If they take you anywhere else, that's bullshit. Jesus, Buddha, whoever the fuck you want to talk about, they all come back to yourself. There's so many people jumping on the spiritual path of thinking of a teacher, a authority figure, or a third party when it comes to religion or government or anything else. You are always going to come back to yourself. And how is it? What else is there other than this experience? Because the answers we would get funneled through this divided mind that created the problem in the first place is going to be an answer that is justifying to our conditioning. So it's probably not the answer. So, like you said, when you did the hallucinogenics and all it said was you already know. So it's up to you to figure that out in this realm, in this 3D limited realm. What that answer is, no one knows but you. And maybe you don't even know it other than this direct experience. Because when I listen to really high level teachers and you really push them into a corner, like Vivekananda, he made a comment. He said that after a life of suffering, if he doesn't get rid of suffering, if someone like him can't get rid of suffering, you and I are fucked. And he said the only thing I can do is make someone's day better. End of story. In that moment, could I help someone with their groceries? Could I help someone up the stairs? Could I be nice to someone on a podcast? Could I help someone in my viewership feel a little less shitty? All of these teachers, they know they don't know, and all they're doing is trying to be kind to the world. What else is there? The fuck else is there? What the fuck else is there? And how hard is that for us to understand? Because when we go through something, pain, suffering, I don't want to go through that. I would never choose that. Never. I would never choose the shit I went through the last couple of years. I still wouldn't choose what I'm going through. But I guess we chose it.
Yeah. Was there a moment being around these people, these incredible people who are capable of things that we can only imagine? Was there a moment where you kind of went from like skeptic to like, holy shit, this is real?
I was never a skeptic.
No.
Apparently I've had so many past lives doing this shit, and this life was about being able to have a conversation with you, a PhD, Einstein, a complete idiot, Vivekananda, an athlete, a mom, a dad, to the point where if they asked me anything at any level, I could make them understand something to expand their consciousness. Because I didn't have any flashy experiences. I tried psychedelics, and truly, I understood when I took an eighth of mushrooms, like you said, I realized it was a fucking Tuesday for me because I'm so deep in how I talk and how I've always been. They did nothing to me, legitimately nothing. So, in my karma, my dharma in this life, when I saw that, people thought, in a sense, like I was a robot because they're like, "Are you seeing this? Like, how are you not fucking losing your mind?" I had a deep, really deep knowing and understanding that my teacher unlocked and made me remember what I already knew. So when I do a podcast like yours, or I'm on an entrepreneur podcast, or a business podcast, or a political podcast, it is about showing 8 billion people that we're all coming from the same source. I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm not Catholic or atheist. I'm not religious or spiritual. I understand them all. I can talk from both sides and in a neutral way, a very calm way, a way that helps them open up, discuss, talk, and explain to them the division and conflict they're creating so that we can go from second to third grade or third to fourth. So when I saw this stuff or I learned something or my teacher would tell me something and it made sense, I'd be like, "Oh, what's for lunch?" I truly like
Yeah.
people thought uh, certain things I found out about my personal life and parents and this and that. Like I found out stuff that like in a movie scene, your whole world would crumble, right? And I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom or something. I don't I like there's something the way I was built, I didn't choose to have brown hair.
Yeah.
There was something in me when it came to this incarnation. I was supposed to know really high level stuff, consciousness, the universe, and be able to piece it together so anyone at any level, at any age could say, "Oh, that makes perfect fucking sense. I'm gonna be less of an asshole tomorrow."
Yeah. This is not the same thing, but like I think that the reason I survived that wreck, let's say that there's no existential, you know, the journey I went on. Let's just say all of that was not real.
Uh-huh.
And for the sake of argument, we nothing is any better than it was. And I only survived because of, who I am and what I've learned as a person. I've wrecked so many times on a dirt bike and just mangled myself. I've broken 20 something bones. I've torn things. I've just mangled myself. And never for 1 second did I ever think, like, I don't want to do this anymore,
Yeah.
or like the injuries are too much or anything. Like, it was just go to the doctor and get fixed up and get back on the bike because that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
And when I got hurt doing line work, like I said, they called it a catastrophic unsurvivable injury, but I didn't know that when they were pulling me off the pole. To
Yeah.
me, this was just another dirt bike wreck.
Yeah.
And I never thought about dying. I never thought about losing my hand. I never thought about my life being changed. I was begging my boss not to fire me for making a mistake. And that's not something I look back on it now and I'm like, that was a horrible way to think. Like, you know what I mean? But that's me. That's how
Yeah.
I'm wired.
That's
And
how
there
you're
was
built.
nothing that could change in that moment of time
Nope.
that would make me think I was going to die or make me think that I was going to lose my hands. It never entered my mind for even a second.
Yep.
And like I know most people who die of gunshot wounds don't die of the wound. They die from shock from being scared of the wound. And that could have
Exactly.
easily happened to me. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm destroyed. My arm,
Yeah.
I can't move anything. I can't feel any. All I know right now is pain, you
Yeah.
know? And there was nothing that could change who I was in that moment.
Nope. Nothing. Nothing. So that's why a lot of individuals who really get to a certain point, they're like, it just is. They don't go either side. They don't try to understand why. They don't try to Simon Sinek everything into a fucking why or a purpose. Because again, we will never really know why. Every why that's made up on this planet, every purpose we think is what we think it is, it's made up here. This is divided, this is limited, and this is the thing that created the thing that thinks we need to have a purpose and that fucks everything up. So the same tool that created a problem can't solve it. Every why, every purpose. I'm a mother. I'm supposed to be a basketball player. I'm supposed to save the world. I'm supposed to do this. It's all stuff we've made up, but it's all within that compass of consciousness. So every time it really gets down to it, I hear people say it's about the experience. It's not even about evolving. It's not about helping each other because there is no separation. It's about the experience. And everyone who talks about the matrix or the illusion or the game theory, there's a great story of a student finding a teacher. The teacher tells him, just in passing, it's an illusion, blah, 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 teaches him a form of meditation, and he goes on with his life. 2 weeks later, the student goes through, has a great meditation, experiences oneness with the universe, like all those hippies think there is. And he comes back to his teacher and he gets excited as hell to say, teacher, I experienced it. It's all an illusion. The teacher grabs a stick, cracks the kid upside the head, and says, if it's an illusion, why does your head hurt?
Yeah.
We live in a dualistic world. It is not an illusion in the way these people are talking about it. It's an illusion. In the way they talk about it makes people think we can escape it, which is causing expectations not to be met, which is causing more unhappiness than we've ever experienced. We have more books on how to be happy than we've fucking ever had, and we've never been so miserable. People talk about escaping the matrix. Well, you're using tools the matrix created to escape it. How do you think that works?
Yeah.
You're not escaping anything. It's not game theory. It's not a VR headset like Donald Hoffman talks about or Bernard Kastrup talk about. They're very intelligent individuals trying to figure out consciousness. This is a real experience. This is real. Even the people who say, if you take a microscope and you look at your hand, it's 90% air. Well, I'll tell you what, when my fucking hand is hit, that other 10% really hurts.
Oh yeah.
So why do I why do I give a shit if it's hollow?
Hey, and I still have the phantom hand. Explain that. You know what I mean? Like
Really?
phantom limb pain is the wildest thing. So while I was in the hospital, they destroyed my hand. A plastic surgeon destroyed my hand and made it look like a claw, like the
Okay.
scary movie. Oh, my strong hand,
Okay.
made it look like that. That hand is still there. It hurts all the time.
No shit.
Nobody can really explain it,
No,
why
they
it
can't.
happens. So, oh, well, the nerves and this and that, but
No.
they're really just bullshitting. They don't understand phantom limb pain. It doesn't make sense.
I gotta Google that.
Yeah. It's wild,
Phantom.
man. It like to me, it shows that like the brain and the body are separate
Oh, 100%.
because otherwise the brain would just go, yeah, hand not there anymore, figure it out, whatever. It can't do that. I think there's something that can't correspond between the body and the brain. And my brain's just fucking confused about this. I don't really know. I can't explain it at all either. It's just one of those weird things that like, all right, we know why, we know it's there. Like people didn't even really believe that phantom limb pain was a thing until the Civil War when all these doctors were, amputating limbs from cannon fodder. And people are like, man, it's still there. It itches, it hurts. And finally, doctors were like, well, this is actually real.
I think, yeah.
This is actually a thing. And they still can't explain it. I don't think they're any better off explaining it now than they were in the Civil War. I heard
No.
an interesting theory recently. I don't remember who said it, but they said that ancient man was more equipped to live in today's world than we are because
I bet.
they existed in a world where magic existed and they just
Makes
took
sense.
it for granted. So if
Makes sense.
something crazy and out of whack happened, they would just go, "Oh yeah, it's a spirit doing its thing and let me go on keep plowing the fields."
Makes sense. It makes absolute sense because we got into such a time of science and trying to explain the unexplainable, and we are human and we're intelligent and we're going to figure this out, and there's ways to figure it out, and if it's not measurable, it's not real for business, and if we can't explain it, it's bullshit, and this and that. We've just gone completely off the rails when it comes to that, and that makes perfect sense. And again, we use the word theory, but more than likely true. So why the fuck is it a theory?
Yeah. Do you think that ancient man was more in touch with this than we are today? With
No, they were more in
consciousness?
touch. They were more in touch with consciousness and the cosmos and their heart and everything else. This is a motherfucking. This loses a limb and thinks the goddamn thing's still there.
Yeah.
This is a disaster. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Now, if I'm a neurobiology or a neuroscientist or a neurologist, yeah, this is going to be God to me. But if you really understand how limited, conflicted, and divided this tool is, old the older civilizations, or what did you call it? Older man? What'd you call that?
Ancient man.
Ancient man. No, no. It's like a dog. The dog's always happy. We got a bigger brain, so we think we're more intelligent. No, we're less happy.
We have a
They
smaller
were.
brain actually
They were.
than ancient man because ancient man had to use their brain for directions. and to
Sure.
do different things. So actually our brain size is getting smaller and smaller over
There you go.
time. And that doesn't mean that we weren't as smart as them. We are able to use tools to like the iPhone or the iPad. To me, that is a brain prosthetic. It allows you to offload things that aren't as important as some of the like this type of stuff that we're talking. These are the important. This is the important shit. Like how
Mhm.
I get to my doctor's office on the other side of town isn't quite as important. So do I
Mhm.
use? I don't have a problem using my maps for that. Most of the time, I don't have to do that. But you know, it is good that we've been able to offload some of the bullshit that is not worth thinking about to other things. But I think that we use this stuff as a crutch in a lot of ways. And like, when I was younger, I could get around all over the place. I didn't have a cell phone. You didn't either. We didn't have MapQuest or anything like that.
Exactly.
We just figured it out.
Yep.
And now that skill is gone.
It
Is that
is.
a skill that we should have? Yeah. But also there could be an even trade-off to say, okay, well, that skill's there. You're not using it. You would have to cultivate it again if you wanted to use it again.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. Sorry.
No, I just think of ancient civilizations, ancient man. I think they were tapped into consciousness. Like Einstein, he come up with those theories and he wouldn't be able to write it down. His colleagues will say, "You're full of shit." He's like, "No, I just tapped into my cosmic self."
I
The
think in
ancient
English,
Mayans, all of that, it's all consciousness. It's the mind is everyone thinks the
yeah,
only thing we've ever known is the mind. The only thing we've ever been taught about or learned with is the mind. It's such a limited fucking master. It's a terrible master. We need to get back to where we use consciousness and use this as a servant.
I think in English, my inner monologue is English. It's my voice for the most
Do you
part.
ever think about that? Like you think
Oh,
of other
dude.
languages,
I,
are they thinking in English when they speak Mandarin? I always think about that.
yeah. So actually, Einstein, I'll get on to that in a second, but Einstein said that he thought in music.
Hmm,
He didn't think in words. He thought in music,
okay.
which I always thought was so interesting. I saw a stat recently that something like 50% or 60% of modern people don't have an inner monologue going on in their mind. There's nothing up there. They're just kind of existing. They kind of just
No,
react and are almost a zombie in a lot of ways. And that's a really scary thought because I
because of
went
what
to,
we've done, because of the
no,
information.
I don't know. There's not really an explanation for it. Some people
How do
just
they
have it
explain
and
that? How do
don't.
they know that though?
Well, they think that we're crazy because we have a voice going on in our head all the time and they don't understand it. I know people who don't have it and they don't understand how we could. You know, there's a voice in your head all the time. How could you live? How could you do anything?
How
And
the fuck am I just hearing about this? And I know a lot of stuff.
yeah, I'll
Really?
send you a link to this stuff. It's very
Holy
strange, man. It's kind of creepy because it gives some credence to like that NPC argument for a
uh-huh.
simulation, where
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
people aren't really people. They look like us, they sound like us, but in a lot of ways they're not really a person. They're kind of just existing in a lot of ways. And that's God, it it's so sad if that's like actually true that
Kind of sounds
they
peaceful.
don't.
As far
Yeah,
as
I
my
mean,
head's going.
ignorance is bliss. A lot of my buddies are very dumb, and all they care about is hammering puss and watching football. And that's not a terrible life for a lot of people. Like I could
It's
never
really
live that
not.
life,
It's
but
really
they love it. They would
not.
they would listen to 5 minutes of this and go, yeah, well,
Yeah,
whatever.
fuck this
Yeah,
guy.
exactly. And so, different strokes for different folks, I
That's
guess. But
interesting. I do now vaguely remember someone talking about this a couple months ago, and I just kind of pushed it off because I'm like, oh, that's a one off. Like that person, maybe they just can't hear it. It's kind of like Einstein listening. He thought in music. Well, I
yeah,
can't understand that. I don't
me
think in
neither.
music. So to have no inner monologue, how the fuck they just react? Uh,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
there's
have to
a
think about that one.
There's a great
Interesting.
book. I'm a huge Larry Niven fan, old sci-fi, and he wrote a book called Protector a long time ago. And it was a very clever idea that he did. He looks at humans and goes, why do these things happen to us when we get old? Why do our joints fall apart? Why do we get, you know, there was a couple other things that he pointed to, but the joints was a big one, arthritis, things like that. And what he did is he created an ancient alien story where a life form from a planet closer to the core of the galaxy, came out here and started a colony. And these beings, they have two phases in life. Well, three. They have child, breeder, and protector. So a breeder is a Homo habilis, essentially. Just one of our ancient ancestors, a Homo habilis. They kind of just existed. They didn't really have consciousness all that much. They were smart compared to like modern chimpanzees, but nothing compared to like a Neanderthal or a Cro-Magnon man or anything like that.
Okay.
Just kind of existing.
Okay.
And what happened to them was when they turned about 40, 45, they would get a scent for this plant that grows on their planet, which turns out to be a sweet potato. And that sweet potato had a virus in it that changed their system from Homo habilis to a super soldier. Their joints extended, their brain got bigger, their genitals disappeared and created a different heart. That's, the heart attack thing. People have heart attacks.
Yeah.
So the way that he was able to relate that to us was when they moved to Earth, that plant wouldn't grow in the right way. So they didn't go through their change, their physical change. So that
Um,
manifests arthritis, heart attacks, Alzheimer's, all of these different things, all these ailments that attack us when we're older. And that being had probably a 400 IQ and it just existed. It did not have a conscious mind anymore. Any anything that it was presented with, any problem, any roadblock, it automatically knew the direction that it needed to go. And it made them into a cold and very violent race.
man, I'm learning a lot of shit today.
That's a fun one, right?
So, and then that when that comes back to what we were talking about earlier, then I know that's a sci-fi movie. I know that's a book. I know that's fantasy. I know that's how we look at it.
Is it?
I bet somewhere in the universe that happened.
Who
I bet
knows,
it's
right?
happening right now.
It could be. I mean, it's an infinite universe. People don't understand what
Infinite.
infinite means. I was talking to my mother's husband the other day about life on another planet. Oh, yeah, there's no life. I go, what are you talking about? Like,
Oh,
how egocentric do you have to be to think that this is the only place in an infinite universe where people can see and think? I think that consciousness is probably the most valuable resource in the known universe. And I don't think for a second that we're the only place that has it.
no. Well, it's everything. Consciousness is everything physical and non-physical. When you say we have, we're it.
Yeah.
It's the whole universe. It's the whole universe. And I mean, you know how terrifying it'd be if we were the only ones.
Oh, it's cruel.
Oh
It's fucking
God.
cruel. Like, why would we do that to ourselves? You know what
Oh
I
my
mean?
hell.
Like,
There's no way.
having
There's no way.
you don't have anybody to talk to, anybody to meet, and anybody to learn new things from. Gosh,
Oh God.
I don't know if Project Serpo is a real operation that
What's that?
actually happened. So Project Serpo is what Close Encounters of the Third Kind was based off of. And they essentially, the story is that these aliens crash landed on Earth. We helped them call home, ET, and they sent a ship back, and we asked if we could go with them. And we sent some soldiers off with them to go and live on their planet. A couple of them stayed, a couple of them died, and a couple of them came back home. And it was an interesting story. I hope it's true. I don't know if it's true. It's hard to really say with things like that. I don't trust the government. And a lot of times it's the government telling you that these things are true. So who really knows? But like the thought of meeting other people, other beings, is just one of the most exhilarating thoughts I could ever have. It's why I've been into this stuff for fucking 30 years, you
Well,
know?
I think we've been into it for a reason. I think because they're coming soon. I mean, it's going to be unequivocally like we look up, like, okay, they're here. It's not going to be any more theories, no whistleblowers, nothing. I would like to be a liaison.
Yeah.
I'd like to bridge that gap between them and humans and make sure that a significant amount of humans are like, oh, you know, what's going on here? This is what it is. This is where they're from. This is what consciousness is. This is how this happens. This is not as crazy as you think. They're benevolent. Everything's fine. I just kind of bullshit with them being in an executive boardroom talking to them like, hey,
Yeah.
we got some trouble over in New York. Like, I think that'd be cool as hell.
Dude, I've had that thought too. Like, I've always thought, like, okay, if they showed up and were just in the sky, take me to your leader, who would we want our liaisons to be? And
Yeah.
I've kind of landed on the same thing of why not me? Why not? Why not you? Why not me? Why does it have to be some government chill or some religious
Dude,
leader or the Dalai Lama? Like, why not normal people?
well, I think we'll build businesses around that. I legitimately do. It'll be like anything else. When that happens, if we think we're going to go as business as usual and the government's going to take over that, no, there's going to be a lot of private sector stuff that builds up and says, "Hey, we're gonna figure out a way to team up. We're gonna figure out a way to work together. We're gonna figure out a way to exchange goods or something." I think there's going to be a lot of business built around it, and sign me up.
Fuck yeah, lots
Sign
of
me the
trade,
fuck up.
man. Imagine getting artwork from another civilization.
Exactly.
I mean, I would have my freaking house decked out in alien
Oh,
art. Like, I already do have it decked out in alien art. It's just made by humans. Well, shit, Charlie, this has been a blast. I double booked
yes.
myself today, so I have another
No, you're good, man.
podcast
You're good.
starting 2 minutes ago. So
Nope, nope.
I've got to get
You're all good.
going, but I'd love to do this again sometime. We didn't get into anything aside from this fun stuff. And man,
Who
like,
gives a shit? That was fun as hell, man. I
yeah, man,
appreciate it.
I can talk to you forever. All right, dude.
All right, bud.
So sounds good. We'll do it again
Man.
sometime.
All right,
Later.
bud.